One of the questions that people are beginning to ask more and more is, by when do organizations need to be quantum safe, quantum ready, quantum resistant? And it can look like a really reasonable question. The thing is, though, it's kind of predicated on the assumption that there is a nice clear-cut date. No, it's not that clear-cut. Now, that's not to say that there haven't been timelines published by public authorities, by different technology vendors. There have been, and do please pay attention to those. I'll link to some of them. However, what I notice in that question is that the mindset of the people asking it varies massively. And I'm not here to judge, I'm just here to observe. So there are the people who come at it with the compliance mindset. Now, again, don't misunderstand me, compliance is important. But this is one of those topics where you could be technically compliant, but still pretty vulnerable. And that doesn't sound to me like a great outcome. So when people ask me about this topic, I kind of approach it a bit like a benevolent doctor might if somebody comes in asking about their health. So doctors are really good at identifying when people come in asking for advice, whether or not they're actually interested in changing their health habits to improve their lifespan and their health span. They know to identify when there are people coming in who are basically asking, can I keep on doing what I've always been doing, which is probably not exercising much, not eating very well, not sleeping enough, maybe over drinking, smoking, etc., etc. And what they want is reassurance that they can keep on doing that for as long as possible and not really have to change. Some doctors might berate them. Mostly doctors just kind of go, you know, it's your life, your choice. They don't say it, but they know how to tell the difference between that kind of person and the person who comes in who genuinely wants to do something sensible. This is very similar, right? The organizations who want to start as late as possible and do the bare minimum, again, I'm not here to judge, but they'll get a very different set of outcomes than the organizations who are thinking about, what will my future self thank me for? What decisions could I make now that will make the future brighter? What kind of decisions could we make now that will acknowledge that we can't solve everything, that there's always going to be uncertainty, that there are things we don't control, but what are the sensible moves that will give us possibilities that otherwise we wouldn't have had, that will reduce some level of vulnerability that otherwise we might have had, and that will just enable the organization and the people doing the work to get some kind of satisfaction out of it because it feels like a job well done. Now, very different mindset from just trying to pin it on a date, reduce the amount of effort and the burden. Again, right, don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying to create work for the sake of creating work. But the mindset driving this kind of program will very much condition how it gets run, the kind of work that gets done, and whether it actually delivers something that matters to the business and that doesn't suck the soul and life and energy out of the people actually doing the work.